Have you ever felt trapped by your past, chained by memories that won't let you go? A prison built from fear and pain where every shadow whispers your failures. But even in the deepest darkness, a spark of will can ignite. You have the power to break the chains, to choose your own path. This is not just a walk, this is a new beginning. Your new beginning.
Ever feel like you're standing at the edge of a cliff, looking into the dark, wondering what's next? But it's in that darkness that a single spark can ignite a new beginning. A choice is made. Each step is a declaration, a promise to yourself to embrace the unknown and forge a new path. This is more than a new day. This is your new beginning. Own it.
The axe hung in the air like judgment itself, its edge catching the last weak rays of a dying sun as the crowd's roar swelled into a single, hungry beast. I was on my knees in the mud of the execution square, wrists raw from the ropes they'd cinched too tight, my back aching from the lashes that had welcomed me to the block. My name, once whispered in rebel taverns as a hero, now meant nothing but traitor. They had stripped me of everything except the thin, blood-soaked tunic clinging to my ribs and the certainty that this was the end. The executioner's breath was hot behind the hood, I could smell the sour ale on it. For the crown, he growled, and the axe began its descent. I had one heartbeat to live. One heartbeat to decide I would not die on my knees for a lie. My fingers, numb but desperate, had worked the knot loose during the long march from the dungeons. Hours of pretending to weep while my nails tore at hem. I wrenched my arms free just as the blade whistled down. The axe bit deep into the block where my neck had been a fraction of a second earlier, splintering wood and sending a shock up the executioner's arms. He staggered. I drove my shoulder into his gut, felt the air leave him in a grunt, and then I was running. The square exploded. Women screamed, men bellowed, guards bellowed orders that tangled in the panic. Arrows hissed past my ears like angry hornets. One clipped my shoulder, a white-hot line of fire that spun me sideways but didn't drop me. I crashed through the crowd, elbows and fists and bodies shoving me forward like a leaf in a flood. Someone tried to grab my arm, I headbutted them, tasted blood that wasn't mine, and kept moving. The city gates loomed ahead, iron teeth half-raised because the guards had been too busy watching my death. I ducked under the spikes, boots pounding the cobblestones, lungs already screaming. Behind me the hunt began in earnest. Hooves thundered. The traitor. Kill him. I veered left into the narrow alleys I knew better than they did, sliding on filth, scraping my palms raw on stone walls. My heart hammered so hard I thought it would burst before the arrows did. Another shaft slammed into my thigh, deep, grinding against bone. Pain flared so bright the world bleached white. I didn't stop. Couldn't. If I stopped, the axe would finish what it started. I burst from the last alley onto the open road that hugged the forest's edge, the ancient woods rising like a wall of shadow and mist. Legend said no one who entered came out unchanged. Tonight I was willing to bet my life on those legends. The trees swallowed me. Branches whipped my face, drawing blood in thin, stinging lines. Roots grabbed at my ankles like skeletal fingers. Every step drove the arrow deeper into my thigh. Blood poured down my leg, warm and slick, soaking my boot until it squelched. My shoulder burned in rhythm with my pulse. I could hear them crashing after me, horses, dogs, men shouting coordinates. A horn blared, low and triumphant. They thought they had me. I ran until my vision tunneled. The world narrowed to the next tree, the next breath, the next agonizing push of my ruined leg. Memories clawed at me as the pain tried to drag me under. My little sisters laughed the morning before the soldiers came for us, the way my wife had looked at me when they dragged her away first, her eyes saying stay alive for me even as the rope tightened around her neck. I had failed her. I had failed them all. Tears blurred the trunks. I hated the weakness of them, but they kept falling. A root finally won. I pitched forward, slamming into the mossy ground so hard my teeth clicked. The arrow in my thigh snapped with a wet crack. Agony detonated behind my eyes. I tried to crawl, fingers digging into damp earth, but my arms gave out. The forest spun. Above me, through the canopy, the first stars pricked the sky like indifferent witnesses. Footsteps, too many, too close. A dog bayed. They were here. I rolled onto my back, gasping, waiting for the final arrow or sword. Instead, the air changed. The dogs fell silent mid-howl. The guard shouts cut off as if someone had sliced their throats. A new sound threaded through the trees, a low, rolling growl that vibrated in my chest like distant thunder. Not a dog. Something bigger. Wilder. She stepped from the shadows as though the forest itself had birthed her. Tall, silver-haired, cloaked in black wolf fur that shifted like living smoke. Her eyes caught the starlight and threw it back gold, wolf gold, hungry and ancient. The Wolf Queen. I had heard the stories in the cells. A ruler of the wild borderlands who answered to no crown, whose blood carried the old magic of the first pack. She moved without sound, bare feet silent on the leaves, a long dagger at her hip and a second, smaller blade already in her hand. Behind her, shapes melted from the darkness, great wolves with eyes like hers, silent and waiting. I tried to speak. Only a wet cough came out. Blood bubbled at the corner of my mouth, I hadn't even noticed the cut on my lip from the fall. She knelt, one knee sinking into the moss beside me. Her scent rolled over me, pine, iron, and something electric that made my skin prickle. Up close she was terrifyingly beautiful, sharp cheekbones, full mouth, the faintest scar across her throat like a crown of her own. "You ran far, little rebel," she said, voice low and rough like wind over stone. "Farther than most who wear the noose's mark." A guard's voice cracked the distance, closer now. "There. The traitor's blood trail ends here." She didn't look away from me. Her golden eyes searched mine, reading every terror, every regret, every scrap of defiance I had left. I saw something flicker in them, recognition, maybe pity, maybe hunger. "They will kill you slowly if they take you back," she murmured. "I can give you something else. Life. But it will not be the one you knew." I tried to push myself up. My arms shook. "I don't want your mercy." Her laugh was soft, almost tender. "This is not mercy. This is a claim." She drew the smaller blade across her own wrist in one clean motion. Blood welled dark and shimmering, thicker than human blood, laced with threads of silver light that danced like moonlight on water. The scent of it hit me, wild, metallic, alive. My stomach twisted with revulsion and something deeper, a starving need I didn't understand. The first guard burst through the underbrush, sword raised. Queen or not, the traitor. She moved faster than sight. One moment she knelt beside me. The next the guard was on the ground, throat torn, his sword spinning away into the leaves. Her wolves surged forward in perfect silence, cutting off the rest of the patrol. Shouts turned to screams, steel rang, then wet sounds and silence again. All of it happened while she kept her eyes on me, wrist held above my face. "Drink," she commanded. I clamped my mouth shut, turning my head. The arrow wound in my thigh throbbed in time with my panic. I was dying anyway. Why let her turn me into whatever she was? But her free hand caught my jaw, fingers strong as iron. She pried my lips apart with surprising care, as if I were something fragile she refused to break. "Live," she whispered, and the first drop fell onto my tongue. Fire. That was the only word. It raced down my throat, burning every vein, every nerve. I thrashed, but she pinned me with her body, one knee across my chest, her silver hair curtaining us both. More blood poured in. I choked, swallowed, choked again. Each gulp dragged memories up like drowning men, my wife's final scream, the feel of my sister's small hand in mine before the soldiers took her, the cold certainty that I had nothing left to lose. Tears streamed down my temples. I hated her for this, for making me want to live when death had been so simple. Yet the pain in my thigh was changing. It became heat, then pressure, then nothing. The arrowhead pushed itself out of my flesh with a sickening pop and clattered onto the leaves. My shoulder knit together in waves of itching fire. Strength flooded my muscles, raw and feral. I felt the forest sharpen around me, the scent of pine sap, the distant heartbeat of a rabbit, the copper tang of the dead guards lying 20 paces away. My ears caught the wind moving through leaves I hadn't noticed before. And beneath it all, her heartbeat. Strong, steady, calling to something newly awake inside my chest. She kept feeding me until I stopped fighting. My hands, no longer trembling, rose of their own accord and gripped her wrist, not to push away but to hold her there. The bond snapped into place like a wolf's jaws closing on prey. I belonged to her now. Not slave, not servant, pack. The knowledge brought a rush of grief for everything I had lost and a wild, terrifying joy for what I might become. When she finally pulled her wrist away, the wound sealed instantly. She wiped a smear of blood from my lips with her thumb, almost gentle. Her golden eyes were softer now, the wolf receding just enough to let the woman show through. "You escaped your execution," she said, voice husky. "But you are no longer the man they tried to kill. Welcome to my woods, my wolf." I sat up slowly, testing the leg that should have been ruined. It held. The forest no longer felt like a grave, it felt like home. Somewhere in the distance, more horns sounded, reinforcements coming for the slaughter she had left. I bared my teeth at the sound without meaning to, and a low growl rumbled in my own throat.